Welcome to the Like Iron Podcast, a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to strength, powerlifting, and fitness. None of the information in this show should be seen as medical advice, and you should always talk with your medical provider before starting a fitness regimen. Let's get into the cast, Like Iron.
Hello and welcome to the Like Iron Podcast. My name is Shannon, and this is an impromptu intro because we didn't really record an intro for this podcast because we just got right into the conversation, but I just wanted to record something and kind of introduce the topic. In this episode, Wes and I, along with our guest, Chris Cassius, talk about the merits of getting an exercise science degree and our experience in college getting those degrees. Chris is a classmate of Wes's. He is getting his Masters in Biomechanics, and he has a lot of great things to say. He has practical coaching experience in running and distance coaching, so he brings a new perspective. We didn't introduce him at the beginning of this podcast because we introduced him in a previous podcast that just hasn't been released because I haven't found it. But yeah, hopefully we find that episode and you'll learn a little bit more about him. Enjoy the show.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Obviously, we all have degrees in exercise science or kinesiology, or luckily we're all doing something related to that as far as career goes. But, I don't know, what do you think about MSU's exercise science degree? Sorry if anybody from MSU is listening to this.
So, I'll back up just a little bit. Right out of high school, I wanted to be a personal trainer and thought I wanted to be a personal trainer my whole life. So I got certified and then started a small gym and then thought that, a degree would make me stand out from other personal trainers. So grew up in Ennis, Montana. Bozeman, Montana has a university. It was like, might as well stay close to home. In-state tuition is cheaper. I took out more loans than I needed to, but it's still, somewhat affordable. And honestly, I think a lot of the things I enjoyed about college was some of the relationships that I had. So I got to meet Shanon and Chris, which is good because you can challenge each other's ideas. And the most useful part about my entire undergrad was actually getting into research senior year. Other than that, I think that personally I could have got an anatomy and physiology textbook and maybe some, exercise physiology or scientific training of some sort of sport performance or something like that textbook, and would have probably been totally fine with everything that I learned. I think there are a lot of unnecessary classes that you have to take, there's probably 5 classes that I was like, why am I taking these? But it was required for the degree. I didn't really find those useful.
Like art history?
Yeah. Well, some of them were. Some of them were
Yes.
history classes, and everyone has to take those. It's not specific to kinesiology. It's kind of like the core requirements for the university. But even some of the classes pertaining to kinesiology, exercise science, exercise physiology weren't great. I think my favorite class, I probably had 2 or 3 classes that I actually found really useful, and they were upper level 400 classes and research classes. And then I decided that I wanted to go to grad school, so I got into research. And I think what research taught me was the most useful thing that came out of undergrad, and that was just how to think skeptically, how to challenge each other's ideas respectfully and try to get closer to the truth. The whole process of the scientific method was kind of just instilled, and I think that was the most useful part.
For the record, I met you because you own a gym. I did not.
Yeah.
We were in classes together, but we
No.
We never talked.
The reason why Shannon met me is because he was dating my roommate. Yeah, and then we figured out we had classes together.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
But I came into the gym, so there's that. Met you through the gym, and then you just happened to be Whitney's roommate. I remember when I first came into that house, you were there. I was just like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
What's up? That was the extent of our exchange.
Yep.
Never talked to each other in a class for a semester.
I don't even think we talked to each other after that in class.
Yeah.
It was probably a couple months down the road that
I don't think we actually started talking until we started
to each other.
training together.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh shit, we both like to lift things and actually think about lifting things.
Yep.
Yeah, my experience with an exercise science program is pretty similar. I think we're all going to be somewhat negative on it. But I think that's kind of like just kind of a post hoc, like you're looking back at it and you may not realize like the little things. Maybe, like I think a college degree in general helps you become, or should help you become, a better like critical thinker and stuff like that. So those skills are useful, and you like these gradual changes that you make through your 4 years might actually be more beneficial than we think. For me, I don't regret doing it because I ended up in PT school, and it's just like it's a perfectly fine way to get to PT school. But I have no idea what I'd be doing if I didn't go to grad school or PT school specifically. I actually started in computer science first semester, and then I took Java, and I was like, fuck this. Spent like, I don't know, 8 hours trying to find a semicolon right now. I was like, nope, I'm switching majors. And I was actually like, I was in class all day, like every day, just like looking at my phone and reading like lifting articles and stuff. So I was like, all right, what can I like do that's somewhat related to training and sports science? So I was like, oh, exercise science. And then, like Wes says, I think a lot of the classes were pretty, I'm not gonna say useless, but close.
Yep.
It was just like, I think that's partially my fault, because you can kind of tailor the program a little bit. Like I could have taken more advanced classes. Yeah. But you just don't think of that, how you have to plan out those 4 years sometimes. Like there's a couple classes that I want to take my senior year that I couldn't because I didn't have some advanced science credits, which I could have taken. I wish I did. Yeah. What do you think, Chris, about that?
Yeah, so similar thing. For me, at least, the first 2 years are kind of useless. Yeah. I feel like you're just repeating high school over again. So, like, I mean, this is not just specific to our major. I think this is more just like global U.S. School system. I think it'll be more functional if we got rid of those first 2 years, or at least shortened them, so you don't have to take like so many useless classes. Just stuck to like the fundamental, like your math classes, your science classes, some English classes. And then from there, tailored it to your own specific needs. Like for example, some courses that I wanted to take, I couldn't because I wanted to graduate in those 4 years. I didn't want to be there for 5-6 years. So, like you can't take all the classes you really want to take, which kind of sucks. In terms of my experience, I did my undergrad at Long Beach State. Again, those first 2 years are just redundant. I don't think you need them. But the last two, which I got more focused into, our curriculum, which is more exercise science based. For the most part, I had a decent experience. Of course, there's always things that they can improve upon. Like some of the class structures are just terrible. The issue was just getting classes. Like our school was so overpopulated, we couldn't even take classes we wanted. So, I think maybe some courses could use some improvement, but other than that, I think I didn't have that too bad of experience.
Yeah, I didn't have a bad experience, but sometimes I think that like it was almost too conceptual. Like if I didn't practice, if I wasn't coaching football and then coaching powerlifting and competing in them and thinking about that and reading outside sources, then I just don't think they give you enough knowledge to just start applying it right off the bat. They don't give you enough opportunities to start applying it. Like you can learn all this exercise phys stuff or programming, but if you don't actually apply it with a person, or actually if you want to start coaching people, then it's not very useful.
Yeah. I think that, for myself, when I got into this, it was primarily based on becoming a better personal trainer. And I thought that, college education and exercise science would help with that.
Should have taken a marketing class.
Yeah, seriously, I should have taken a business class. But again, a lot of people come out of business and say I didn't learn anything. So maybe undergrads. But I also think it's a little status driven. I thought if I have a bachelor's in science compared to someone who has got just a CPT and whatever, that would help business. But honestly, I think if you're a personal trainer and you're an independent contractor, you own your own gym, and you're on the fence about going to school, I guess the utility that comes out of it that makes you a better personal trainer, for me, I don't necessarily know if it was worth it. I think getting the actual experience is mostly worth it. And I think self-educating, somewhat similar to what Shannon said, like being involved in coaching, just reading, powerlifting research or strength and conditioning research, and, sitting down reading a good textbook is very useful. Like I think that's where I got the most utility. There were definitely some benefits to school. Like I don't want to just totally shit on the degree. Like the anatomy classes were useful. The physiology classes were useful. Like the harder sciences were useful. And then biomechanics was useful just because we had a good biomechanics teacher, and it was, quantitative. So it was like we're dealing with numbers, which was nice. And it was basically like a sports biomechanics class. Like we learned a lot about how it applies to sport. We had, good exercise phys teacher who also taught some basic programming, which, wasn't anything you could learn outside of, a strength conditioning textbook, really. But almost all, I think, the utility came from owning my own gym at the same time, and just actually having to work with people, a little bit of trial and error, and applying these principles that I learned outside and some inside school. So I think going back, if you're just a personal trainer and that's what you want to do and that's what makes you happy in life, you don't necessarily need to go get a college degree for it, because it's pretty expensive. And I don't necessarily, for me, it personally hasn't made our business grow any more than I think if I would have just spent more time working on the business rather than working on the business and going to school at the same time. So
yeah, as far as personal training, I don't think it made me a better personal trainer whatsoever. But again, we're kind of shitting on it a little bit, but I think it also has to do with kind of how much you put in, and it's just one of those things, like what you put in, you get out. Like I could have, if I didn't go in with a mindset, because I knew I was going to try and go to grad school of, get the degree and get out, pass the test, get out, or learn a topic. If I would have learned a topic more in depth and then gone into it more myself, which I kind of do now, then it would have been a lot more beneficial. And if I would have used those opportunities to talk to professors who have all this knowledge and about topics that isn't straight out of the textbook, I think the opportunity is there to get as much out of it as you want. But usually when you get into college, especially the first 3 years, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the next party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest resources in a college is your peers.
Yeah.
Just because, again, those first 2 years, it's it's just repetitive of high school. So you don't really need to communicate with your peers. But once you get into those more higher level classes, and you have to actually, okay, this is new information, you have to actually discuss with your classmates and your other peers, then it actually gets more engaging, and you actually get to learn more in terms of that. Because in terms of just engaging with the content, anybody can just memorize stuff, but I think the best thing you can get out of it is talking to other people, seeing what they think about the topic, their ideas. So just the exchange of ideas, I guess, is the biggest thing I got out of that.
Yeah, for sure. The problem though is I don't think that's specific to exercise science,
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
when you think about it, if you no matter what degree you get, I think college has benefits. It's good. But if I were to do over it again, I think I would take just a harder course load. And again, you can usually tailor your exercise science to be harder, or practically just taking a harder thing that makes it, if I didn't go to PT school or didn't get in, that has some kind of merit as far as getting a job or making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all in grad school, so it worked out fine for us, and we all have. Luckily, this is our passion and our career. But if you're just looking to be a personal trainer or coach something, then I don't think it's that beneficial.
I think one useful thing that came out of undergrad, and again, it kind of is what Chris was saying, are the conferences that were exercise science based, just like American College of Sports Medicine, so ACSM and ASB. I didn't do those until senior year. But there's conferences that are specific to other undergrad degrees as well. But I do feel like those conferences are incredibly useful because you get to see people debate given topics. And for some reason, not until about junior year, I thought I had this idea that science is trivial. Everyone agrees on this. This is the end all be all. It's an absolute. But then when I got into junior, senior year, you start realizing how nuanced and ambiguous a lot of things are. Or even just maybe there's not enough data to really draw conclusions, or maybe the data is kind of crappy. They just didn't do a great job of, performing it or collecting it. And so that was, I think, really eye-opening, going to those conferences and seeing like, oh, these are big names in the field who are actively, researching, teaching, running their own businesses, who, disagree. And it's not that, I guess, one is completely right or completely wrong. It's just like maybe some of it really is ambiguous, and it's like there's points to both sides. And I think that's incredibly useful, because it kind of allows you to start thinking a little bit more in depth and think a little bit more logically and think, okay, what does the data suggest? What can we take from this? What do we not know? What can we not say about this? And continue to move forward. And I think that, again, just helping with critical thinking, trying to be a little bit more logical, engaging in debate respectfully. Those are all very useful, I think, life skills that, again, aren't necessarily specific to exercise science, but to engaging in whatever undergraduate degree you're in. If you can go to a professional conference, I think, those are useful. You can present your research, you can get it critiqued, and you can get better yourself too. So yeah. I found that useful.
Yeah, I guess it's more like maybe the coursework itself may not have as big of a benefit as you think if you just want to be like a personal trainer or you want to apply it. But the opportunity to converse with people that are passionate about the same thing, I think, yeah, that's beneficial. But and of course, it's not like specific exercise science, but if your passion is exercise and science, then it is specific.
Yeah, so basically the extracurriculars are where it's at. It's the going into the research and doing your own research, or just working with the team, going to conferences. I think what we're getting out of this.
Yeah, it's just engaging the subject material. Like, it was super easy to just kind of like back in high school, my coach always just said, oh, you're just, going through the motions. That's what people would say, like, when you're doing it, but you're not putting effort into it. You're just doing it to pretend like you're doing it. Yeah. And I found myself doing that a lot. Like, I just want to get, the C's get degrees. I was like, send it. Like, if I got a B or C in something, I was totally fine with it. But then when I started engaging in, the upper level classes that were actually exercise science based and more, I guess, interesting to me, I found myself engaging in that material, and that's when I found it to be fun. And so I think what I would suggest is, if you end up going exercise science route, one, think about what you want to do with it. And two, try to engage in whatever you end up doing, try to engage in it and, actually learn something rather than just going through the motions.
Yeah. Take some personal responsibility for what you're passionate about, what you want to learn. I mean, I wish I did that more, but finally learning to do it now.
I should take my own advice.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And that's probably why we have any notion of negative about it, is because we did that for a while where we were just there, we were just passing the courses and stuff, and I don't think that's that beneficial by itself, but it's the other opportunities that present themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. One thing I wish I did was just take more advantage of the professors. Like, I never really built much of a relationship with any of them that I had. It was more just like get in, get out.
Yep.
Get a good grade. Whereas like you guys have a good relationship with Dr. Becker, obviously, because you're under him, but you had a little bit of a relationship with him before that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add? So let's just say, final question: if you want to be a personal trainer, would you go? If that's all you want to do.
If you only want to be a personal trainer with your life.
Say you just want to be a personal trainer, but you recognize that you need to do more than just the coursework, so engage. Would you go again?
I would probably not go again, and I would work on developing, increasing your business, because there's a huge networking side of it that I didn't really think about. And I would also spend your time. What I find is useful, especially in the strength conditioning world, is we have a lot of research reviews. And for someone who doesn't have a stats background, they can be useful in helping you kind of like interpret the data. You are getting a slightly biased lens, so just be skeptical of that, and also just continue to think for yourself. But those things are still useful because it presents the data, it breaks it down to something that's digestible and gives you like practical application. I find that incredibly useful. I mean, YouTube is growing like crazy. There's pros and cons to YouTube. Any idiot with a camera can put stuff out, but also a lot of really intelligent people put stuff out.
Like us, the idiot part, not the intelligent
part. But a lot of professors put their lectures online. Like, there's a lot of anatomy and physiology lectures out there. There's a lot of, good roundtable talks with researchers in the field, and getting, different viewpoints on a topic is useful. That's probably where I honestly did a lot of spent a lot of time was reading books and research reviews on YouTube. So there is definitely ways you can get educated without getting a college degree.
Yeah.
And if you just want to be a personal trainer, I don't think it's totally worth it to spend, anywhere between, what do you guys spend? Way less than I did. $20,000 to $50,000 on a piece of paper.
Money,
Yeah. When you can get a certification. If you do get certified, I would probably get certified through a respectable body. There's a lot of the personal training certs out there, almost all of them, I think are kind of a joke. It's just my personal bias and opinion on them because I've had a few of them. I'd probably get it from a more like nationally recognizable body.
Unfortunately, the audio cut out there for some reason. I think that's where a battery died. But the rest of the podcast is more or less the same. Talking, just wrapping up the conversation. I hope you found the conversation useful. Peace out.